I recently designed and built this router table cabinet that's built into the extension wing of my table saw. This is the second video in a 3-video series. In the first video, I covered the building of the cabinet carapace, including electrical switch wiring and external dust port. If you haven't seen that video yet, I suggest you check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description below. In this video, I'll show how I built and fit the 7 drawers from mostly scrap wood, how I built the swinging router enclosure door and installed a magnetic switch, and also how I finished the dust port. Let's get started. Fun fact, between filming the last video and this video, I got married. Okay, back to business. There are 2 different types of drawers in this cabinet. The 5 narrow drawers in the top half of the cabinet are made with a 1/4-inch plywood base that slide within grooves cut within the cabinet body. This style of drawer is great because it doesn't require any hardware, but the sliding action isn't very smooth, especially when the drawers are holding heavy items. I usually only use this style of construction for smaller, more narrow drawers. The reason I'm only making 5 drawers here is that the 6th is actually a false drawer front, which hides the electrical wiring and the dust port. The plywood bases are cut to be about 1/16 of an inch narrower than the full width between grooves in the cabinet body to allow the drawers to slide smoothly. The bases also extend to the full depth of the cabinet, even though the drawers themselves will be a few inches shorter. The extra length on the back of the base allows the drawer to be pulled out far enough to expose all of the contents without the drawer tilting and falling out of the cabinet. The sides of the drawers are made from scrap pieces of melamine, and the backs are from the same plywood as the base. They're glued directly to the bases, and all of the joints are butt joints. This isn't the most elegant joinery, but these drawers will hold only router bits and other lightweight things, so it won't be an issue structurally. I'll attach the drawer fronts last. I cut the drawer fronts from a nice 3/4-inch sheet of veneered plywood. I cut them out from the same piece and matched the grain orientations for visual continuity. I attached the fronts by measuring their locations carefully and gluing them directly onto the drawers. I made sure to use plenty of glue because the end grain of this melamine really soaks it up. Working from the bottom drawer up, I used a hand plane to get the drawer fronts fitting together just right. Oh, I forgot to film this, but I cut and installed some edge banding here before fitting the drawers. It's pine and it's 3/4-inch by 3/4-inch. More on that later. For the false drawer front, I screwed a piece of scrap wood to the bottom of the drawer front and attached it directly to the cabinet body. I installed some simple store-bought handles directly to the center point of each drawer front. Next, I built the swinging cabinet door. I cut 2 vertical stiles and 2 horizontal rails to exact lengths using my table saw sled. I decided to use pocket holes here because they're quick and perfect for this kind of application. I drilled the pocket holes using my Kreg jig. Now, this isn't a sponsored video, but, I wouldn't say no. Looking at you, Kreg. I clamped the frame together and used glue and pocket hole screws to secure the pieces. To cut out the back rabbet in the door, I used a rabbeting bit on my router in my old router table. I wish I were more careful with my screw placement here before attempting to cut this rabbet. I cut the door center panel from a high quality piece of 1/4-inch plywood and glued it in place. To install the hinges on the door, I first clamped the door in place, then taped the hinges where I wanted them. I used an awl to punch placement holes, then pre-drilled and screwed the hinges in place. Afterwards, I just peeled away the tape. To make the latch for the door, I used some store-bought magnets. I glued one half of the magnet into a small piece of maple, which I screwed into the inside of the router cavity in the cabinet. I glued the other half of the magnet into the inner side of the swinging door, making sure the two magnets were oriented such that they attracted each other rather than repel. With the door and top drawers installed, I cut and glued on another piece of edge banding to the top of the cabinet body. I removed the top two drawers temporarily here to make sure any squeeze out wouldn't glue them shut accidentally. Next, I started working on the bottom drawers. The bottom-most drawer is deeper than the one above it, and both run on drawer slides that I salvaged from an old IKEA dresser I found in a dumpster. I really went out of my way to use as much scrap wood as possible when building these drawers. The top drawer has MDF and melamine sides with a 1/4-inch plywood base, and the bottom drawer has sides made of pine boards with melamine and a 1/2-inch plywood base. For each drawer, the plywood base is fit into a rabbet cut about a 1/4 inch up from the bottom of the 4 sides. The 1/2-inch plywood base in the larger drawer was super warped, so I had to struggle a lot to bend it to fit it in place. The width of each drawer is equal to the width of the opening in the cabinet, minus the space required for a drawer slide on each side. I used a scrap piece of pine as a spacer to install the bottom drawer slides at the same height inside of the cabinet, and I just measured up from that to install the upper drawer slides. With the drawers in place, I measured and cut out drawer front panels from the same 3/4 inch plywood as the 5 narrow drawers above. Again, I matched the grain up for visual continuity. To attach the front panel to the bottom drawer, I carefully clamped the front panel to the cabinet, then clamped the panel to the drawer, and reached in and screwed the drawer to the front panel. Attaching the front panel to the top drawer was more difficult. Here, I used double-sided tape to temporarily attach the panel. I carefully slid the drawer a few inches back out, then traced the outline of the inside of the front panel. Then I removed the drawer entirely, scraped off the tape, aligned the drawer back with the pencil outline, and screwed the front panel onto the drawer. I also screwed it to my workbench. Let's try that again with shorter screws. Despite my attempts at being careful and precise, I still had to use a hand plane to get the two drawers fitting together perfectly. Lastly, I attached some matching drawer pulls in the same way as I showed earlier. With all 7 drawers fitting perfectly, I then turned my attention to finishing the dust port. This is actually a bit of a sad story. I started by laminating together 3 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, then tracing the dust port adapter onto the center and hogging out most of the interior with a Forstner bit. I then tried to use my oscillating spindle sander to clean out the circular shape. Not a good idea. Despite the obvious safety issues associated with this endeavor, I managed to be more careful and get a pretty clean fitting port. Then, I bumped my shop vac hose into my tripod, and my DSLR camera fell onto the concrete and stopped working. So I stopped filming for a while getting it repaired, so I don't show here the completion of the port. As you can see, I just cut a 45-degree chamfer around the 4 edges on my table saw, then screwed it in place with some 3-inch screws. That's it for now, and thanks for sticking around through the first 2 videos in the series. In the final installment, no pun intended, I'll show how I built the melamine top with the router plate insert and installed the entire cabinet into the wing of my table saw. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. I also screwed it to my workbench. Let's try that again with shorter screws.